Om Shri Sai Ram. I offer my most humble and loving salutations at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan, Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Sai Ram all, and grateful for this episode that we are happy to bring and continue this beautiful divine journey with all of us. So let us start this evening offering by our prayer, and may I request all of you to please join me in. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my soul and let it be merged in one with Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Om Shri Sai Ram, and welcome to this episode of Sai Ram Katha. As we all know, we have followed the footstep of Lord Ram, of Bhagwan Ram, and followed the story of how he has entered Dandakaranya and how Bharat comes with all the royalties and palace people and everybody to persuade him to return. But Ram is unshakable, unmovable on the path of Dharma. And now we also followed up how Bharat goes back and he reinstalls himself in Nandigram by installing Ram's Padukas in the palace. And then now the scene would move forward. And let me bring in my brother here, Ranganath Raju. Sairam Raju.
Sai Ram Katha.
So Raju, last time we had gone through this whole story of how Bharat tries all his method to persuade Ram, and of course he does not succeed. But when he gets the Paduka of Ram, and there is an instant transformation which happens in Bharat, and he does not even ask Ram after that. In fact, he takes permission to leave, and he is there is a beautiful which I was sharing with our audiences that is a very beautiful an example, if I may put it, of a person starting from totally enjoying the proximity of the Lord to becoming Sayujya of the Lord when he starts feeling that yes, Ram is with me now. So only a symbol of Ram as a Paduka when he gets, he has lost that differentiation of physical boundaries. So before we move forward, Raju, I thought since last time you missed out, so and you have had a privilege of doing some plays with Bhagwan. If you have
Yes.
any other flavor of this episode with Bharat, please
So in
share
fact,
something.
we had, if we very carefully analyze this episode, there are two things that happen. One is the love of Bharata. Second is Dharma, which Bharata is bound by. Second is Dharma that Ramachandra has displayed. Now we had heard this story. We are some of us felt some of us were told that it was told by Swami. Some of us interpreted. I mean, some of our senior brothers said they never heard it, but in fact, some other devotee, a prominent devotee, spoke in Swami's presence. But nevertheless, uh, this was a very beautiful story. We had put up a play in Swami's presence during the student days. It goes thus that Rama and Bharata are having a conversation. Now there is a stalemate, impasse. Nobody is able to give the judgment. Every side, that is Rama's side, seems to be legitimate because Dharma has to be followed. And other side, Bharata's love, prema for Rama is appears to be so supreme and selfless that that also needs to be added. Now nobody is able to pass the judgment. Then they request Vasishtha to give the judgment. Vasishtha says, "I am a Rajaguru, so I am kind of biased towards the throne. So I was there when Rama left. I was there when Bharata came. So it will not be appropriate for me to give the judgment. But for the sake of being a unbiased opinion, let's get a third person, someone who was not there and who is wise enough." So they find Janaka was also in the presence, and they request Janaka to give the judgment as to uh, who should be adhering to whose decision. Should Rama follow Bharata, or should Bharata go back? So now Janaka is the judge both sides. He has been here in the argument. So the play we had put up, he closes his eyes, and there was that tension that Bharata is feeling, that what would now Janaka say, and anticipation on Lakshmana that please tell Ramachandra to go back. Even he wants Rama, doesn't want Rama to suffer so much in the forest. But Rama, all knowing Rama, was in all smiles. So few minutes pass by. Janaka opens his closed eyes and he says, "I have meditated upon it and I have reached a judgment." And Janaka, the wise king, they say all the parties. So the silence, suddenly everything becomes so deafeningly silent, and they're awaiting every breath of Janaka. So Janaka says, "I have come to conclusion that prema is superior than dharma." And there is instant jubilation. Bharata begins to jump. The Ayodhya Vasis begins to jump. So it is basically, interpretation is that prema, the Bharata's prema, is superior to dharma of that is enunciated by Ramachandra, and there is instant jubilation. But and people are celebrating. Bharata, Shatrugna hug each other. Lakshmana, he goes and hugs Lakshmana now, and but Janaka appears to be wanting to say some more thing, like they can make out from Janaka's demeanor. So Bharata is anticipating, answer, what now? What more? That's it, right? You gave your judgment. He said, no, not full. That's only half judgment. But prema also has its dharma. Now there is silence, and everybody is now all hears. Where is Janaka coming to now? This prema also has its dharma. What you are following is your selfishness, that you want your beloved to come, but the dharma of the prema is to ask what the beloved wants. Now Ramachandra is your beloved, ask what Rama wants, and that is the dharma of prema. And they knew that ball is out of the court, and that instant jubilation just evaporated. There is all around again the deafening silence. Bharata is awestruck with this revelation, that very subtly Janaka was indicating that he was driven. Is it more of selfishness, or what? That that is a revelation that through Janaka, the Supreme Lord spoke, and Ramachandra smiles. Janaka understands that, oh my God, I have been driven all the while by my desire. But what does my beloved want? Ramachandra, what do you? Then no one needs to ask, because till then arguments have gone on. So Ramachandra, if my love is so pure, let it be such that whatever Rama wants, I want only that, because there is non-existent of me. And he goes and does namaskar to Ramachandra, and Rama blesses him. And then that's when we in the drama we showed that Rama gives the Padukas to Bharata, and Swami was quite happy in this entire sequence of event, that he had blessed the brother with Vibhuti, and he had also had very kind words to me, and he was saying about Janaka's appearance and all that. Now, I remember, because a very similar instance comes to my mind, where we were once sitting in Bhajan Hall in 2004 and 2006, 7, and the beginning of 2007. So Swami he was not able to move those days. So I got up and asked Swami that, Swami, please walk. And I was crying. I was actually crying, and kind of wailing. Wailing is the right word. And everybody started. All the 50 boys, that are 30, 35 boys around, and 15 boys who had come for makeup. Everybody started shouting, Swami, please, Swami, please, Swami. All of us are crying. It was like the same. There was jubilation, but here was crying. So Swami allowed that all that emotions to cool down. He kept nodding, please, like he kept acting, please, Swami. All those faces he was making. Such a great, beautiful actor that the Lord was. So we were all carried away, and 2 3 minutes, everybody's emotions subsided. Swami looked at us. He looked at me because I had asked that question. He looked at me and said, "That is selfishness, Ra." I never understood as to what Swami was meaning that time. That is selfishness, Ra. Now, and and then we prayed that Swami, please walk. Then he said, I said, Swami, please walk like old days. Swami said, bring back old devotees and all that. But my point is, it was a very similar, probably on the impact level, it would have been very different. But there was Bharata being revealed by Janaka that what is driving him is that individual selfishness to an extent. And here, as a community, the students were asking that we want Swami to walk not because Swami wants, but because we are feeling bad. So our feeling takes the priority. The dharma of the prema has taken a hit. And Ramachandra, in this episode, Rama very beautifully through Bharata displayed to all of us that prema also has its dharma, and that dharma is to seek what the beloved wants, and that is exactly what is displayed by Lakshmana. When Rama says, "Set up the hermitage," he goes and falls at Rama's feet and starts crying that, "How can you even tell me that I like something and I should set up a place, hermitage in a
We'll
place that
come
I
with
like?"
we'll come to that. But
Yes.
here you have pointed out, I think, two very beautiful things. I really don't care whether it is, it really happened or not happened. But I
He felt
understand that,
the same.
yeah, because if Bhagwan watched it, allowed it, because the messaging which was conveyed through the play was very beautiful and very, life changing. And it's a very beautiful analogy to look at this episode between a tussle of love and dharma, because this is a values game. So love is the innate and undercurrent of all dharmas, and dharma per se is the superior most. So you have to, as long as the body is there, dharma is the superior. So here, even though love is the undercurrent, so it becomes higher, but love's dharma again gains the point. So that way, dharma again gains the point. It's such a beauty. And then to realize that what we were praying to Bhagwan was actually our selfish love.
Right.
So we never questioned as to why Swami wants it like that, why Bhagwan is doing that. And instead of questioning and inquiring, Swami, why do you want it like this? What can we do for you? We were saying, just change it. So probably that's a very beautiful and unfortunately late messaging for all of us.
In fact, one of the elders in Swami's presence after the play, he had told me, he had remarked, Swami was asking us how the play was, and this person was inspired. And he made a beautiful remark, and I thought it's very relevant here, where he says that, Swami, the two padakas that Ramachandra gave were not padakas, they were prema and dharma that were given to Bharata. One was prema, and that is what Bharata had carried. And Swami was so happy, said, "Ha, avunu, yes, yes, yes." And Swami kept patting him,
See, I
saying,
think
"Yes."
Bhagavan will always encourage any good interpretation, and if it comes from your churning of your life experience. So it's how we look at life. That's how I guess all the scriptures gets commentary and interpretations. So it's a
Absolutely.
journey. Wonderful. Thank you, Raju, for sharing this.
And just to add, there is another beautiful experience of one of the Sevadals. It was the same episode where Ramachandra gives padakas, and these Sevadals, I remember whenever they would come to Parthi, I had seen it. Whenever they come to Parthi, Swami would, as Swami is passing by, Swami would make it a point to stop and look at them and give that satisfactory beaming smile. It is so fulfilling even to look at that smile. So I wondered as to what was actually transpiring, and that Sevadal, that group of Sevadals, actually brothers, quite elders, they are not proficient in Vedas. I mean, no sadhana, nothing. and they would invariably be coming just before Swami leaves to Kodai. That before after Sri Ramanavami, and that point where Swami leaves to Kodai. So and I had asked, so one of the, after my student days, I got an opportunity to be with them for one of the Sri Ramanavami speeches I was asked to give, and then I had spoken, and before speaking they were taking me around, and then I saw this pandal. They had set up this pandal where they're doing seva. They had set up in front of Sri Rama's temple. What is the seva that they do? All the visitors that come, they take their slippers and put it on their head and say
Wow.
that, and carry it and keep it in those stands. So they wear our scarf, and whoever, all the visitors, they come, they take the slippers, put them on their head, and carry it and keep it on the stand. I asked him, why did you do it? He said, sir, we do not know any of those our Puranas or Upanishads. All that we know is how to love, how to do little service and love Lord. For us, any devotee that is walking in is not devotee, he is Rama himself. And we are like Bharatas, we are carrying their sandals on our head, and for those moments we are becoming Bharatas, and we carry it and we place it there. I was so thrilled that, so they say, sir, immediately after the seva we rush back to Puttaparthi, and every time we go, Swami stops us and gives a smile, acknowledging smile. Yes, I have seen that bonding between God and devotee, Ramachandra and Bharata, probably Bharata in hundreds of forms, and Ramachandra in Puttaparthi. It continues.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Lovely. Thank you, Raju. I know if we get into this nostalgic
Yes.
journey, then it will be difficult. Okay, let's come back to the story. So the point was that Bharat is, in Ayodhya, and Bharat has settled in Nandigram, and Ram, Sita with Lakshman, they are at Panchvati. Sorry. So yeah, Raju, you are there. Okay, come back. Okay. So Chitrakoot. So they are all
Yes.
settled in Chitrakoot. But one more thing I would like to highlight here is that when Chitrakoot ashram hermitage was prepared, it was prepared with a statement that we had to stay for longer time. But immediately now, after some few months or whatever time we don't know, uh, the exit happens, and this happens with a beautiful incidence. And there comes another character, I would say, which who becomes the trigger for this exit from Chitrakoot. And he was, and actually I try to name these people whom Ram has met all through the journey, these blessed souls, they may be saints, they may be demons, but they are beautiful. So the first person they meet is Jayant. This Jayant is son of Indra. Now we can look at the analysis and all that later on, but just for the story's sake, he is a mischievous son of Indra who likes to just play pranks everywhere. So when he sees Ram with Sita and Lakshman, he wants to test Ram whether is he the real supreme or not. But his testing mechanism is slightly childish. He transforms himself into a crow, and he goes and pecked at the tender soul of Sita, which makes her bleed. Seeing blood, Ram plucks a blade of grass. So Jayant wanted to see the grandeur of Ram and test him out. So Ram just plucks a blade of grass and throws it at the crow. On the way, it seems the blade of grass turns into a ball of fire, a huge ball of fire, and it increases in size, and it's dashing towards Jayant, and Jayant starts running, flying away, and the ball of this fire is chasing Jayant. And Jayant, realizing his mistake on the way, he transforms back into Jayant and runs to Ram and falls at his feet. Realizing the mistake which Jayant has done, even Indra appears right there and prays for forgiveness. And the result is both Jayant and Indra are begging Rama to forgive them. And Ram obviously pities them. He understands obviously that he's like a child, foolish fellow trying to measure, like a speck trying to measure the ocean's depth. And he spares his life, but he makes one eye of Jayant ineffective. And Jayant later on, as a repentance, lives on Chitrakoot for a period of time, after which it is Bhagwan has mentioned. I don't know if you, Raju, can make out anything. Bhagwan has given a very clear date, the 10th day of bright half of the moon of Margasira, Margasira. And Ram orders Jayant to go southwards and settle there and do his penance. This story is very interesting. After which, Ram also decides to leave this hermitage on Chitrakoot. So, Raju, I find it very interesting this episode Bhagwan mentioning, and we were discussing about it, and I would like you to share your thoughts on it. Because Indra, by nature, senses that master of senses has to play mischief, and his son is obviously, more gratifying to the senses.
Yes,
And
Guruji.
imagine, I'm trying to compare things, but share your thoughts, Raju.
Yes,
How do you
Guruji.
look at?
Yeah. So if you look at this, I had post our discussion also discuss this with few of the um, scholars who are quite well versed in the interpretation of these, and they say even that's one of the reasons why uh, we have this habit of uh, offering food to after the death of a person on the third day, fifth day, 10th day. It's offered to the birds, and they
To
say
the
usually
crow, actually to the
yes,
crow.
crow, and the form that was taken by Jayant was crow, and the one eye Rama lets out, and in fact, as the story goes, Indra prays that Ramachandra, my son is, he's a handsome kid. You're turning him blind, please. Yes, he has done a mistake, and not that just out of sheer foolishness, childishness. And he gives a beautiful logic, which was even quoted uh, 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 by Bhishma himself, where he says that a child before the age of 12, any crimes committed are not attributable to him. So he's, yes, may not be the age of 12, but his mind is of that age of a child. Please, Rama says, I will, so it has to happen. But since you're praying, since you're seeking this blessing, I bless him that with his lost eye, he would be able to see the formless beings. When the mind and soul, when it leaves your body, those will be visible to this blinded eye, and he would be able to pass on their messages, their blessings. And that's how the custom of feeding they say the feeding of the crows on the
Crow.
after the death ceremony has begun. So where uh, it was fed, and the crow is, if the being is happy, it comes and eats, otherwise it flies away. So they say that that is the custom which has developed because of Jayanta being blind. But another interesting aspect is also the Lord being tested on the. So if you look at Indra, Swami in Dharma, Swami very clearly says the one who is below the senses is Indra. When mind it is below the senses, it is Indra. But when mind rises above the senses, it is Rudra. Now, yeah, one is like the Gudakesha and Rishikesha. Even though Gudakesha, Rishikesha, Gudakesha is the one who is mastered senses. Rishikesha is the one who is beyond senses. There's someone who is No, he has mastered through self effort. So there is always a possibility that the sense might come back and control him. In the same way, this is where even Indra comes in. But Rishikesha is someone who is beyond, and it's impossible for senses even to hold him. Now, this aspect of mind is trying to test the higher aspect of mind. I mean, this Indra is trying to test. Uh, Jayant is nothing but a reflection of Indra. I mean, as a son, he is a reflection of the father. He is trying to test whether desire, whether lust, whether desire can is Lord uh, disturbed by desire, and or rather, what is Lord's strength? It is very similar, like the day, like we discussed, very similar to what happened probably to even Lord
Shiva,
Shiva. Shiva in his
Shivan Kamadev.
yes, yes, brother. You request you to just take it for Shiva and Kamadeva were of a similar nature, where the Lord was being tested by Kamadeva, and one glance, it was the same fire that burnt Kamadeva. And they say when Rama, it's so I had asked this question as wondering as to why uh, in both the places it's actually fire. And Swami gives an answer. Swami gives the answer in Premavahini, sorry, Prashnottara Vahini, where he says, usually jnana is compared to that fire. So where the jnana, when that jnana, the fire of jnana, when it touches senses, they just turn into smithering, just like the way Kamadeva disappeared, just like the way Jayanta ran away across the oceans, across the worlds. So, in the same way, senses also run away in the presence of that fire. So, when Rama throws that blade of grass to Jayant, it is saying, probably very figuratively, we can interpret that Lord Ramachandra is capable of sending you the jnana even through a blade of grass if he wills.
Or a very insignificant looking thing like a blade of grass
Blade of grass.
is enough for him to destroy any kind of sensual approaches to everything.
Absolutely. And
Raju,
uh,
there is another flavor to this story which we will discuss, and uh, you know, uh, in Krishna's time, uh, who was a person who was abusing Krishna for 100 times?
Shishupala.
Shishupal. So Shishupal criticizes or curses Krishna, and
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
of promise and all that. So what we see from the historical thing that we saw in Shiva's case, we saw in Krishna's case, and we saw in Ram case, that there comes a time in the avataric journey when something like that happens, when somebody directly criticizes or counters the avatar, and they get punished right away. So Krishna had to wait because of his promise for 9900 times, and then Sudarshan came and killed him. Ram forgave him but destroyed one eye, which obviously every act of God ultimately turns into blessing. But there is a response factor. So
Yes.
when I look at Bhagwan's life, that we were discussing
Exactly.
this, that
Exactly.
student
100%.
life and this transition of Bhagwan from normal, every phase of avatar. Bhagwan's transition also happened when from the school day when his teacher punished him to stand on the chair on the desk and chair got stuck. And that is the time when when somebody directly punished Baba, he got punished back. So there's always a counter. Immediately it happens. And Bhagwan would also tell that never, never, ever criticize or say bad words for any holy people because they are very pure. And anything you say to them, they don't need to curse you.
It
Your
comes.
own action and words will bounce back and it will become a curse for you. So avoid and save yourself from that. But Raju, tell us about that Mother Ishwarama's intervention in that case.
Yes, brother, exactly. So, in fact, as you are saying, this this incident of Jayant biting Sita's soul and Rama punishing is is a turning event. In some sense, through this event, Rama has heralded his advent. to the task that it's an announcement to all the Rakshasa that I have come now, ready, be ready. And similar is Lord Krishna when he killed Shishpala. After that, the turn of events was very dramatic. And
Right.
in the same manner, it is Swami in that beautiful discourse. Swami clearly emphasizes where he says the teacher was struck and it had become the talk of the town. In fact, many teachers came and they advised this teacher to never scare Satya. And people, some of the students, they went back to home. They went back home and they reported to Ishwarama that this is what your Raju did. And by then Swami reaches home and Swami Ishwarama innocently asks Swami as to what happened. And then as he tries to explain, Ishwarama holds Swami's hand and tells him that you should only give love as your return. If they try to harm you, love them back. Love is that, and love is the only thing that should be guiding you. And he says, after that, I have decided that from the rest for the rest of the time, it'll only be live. It'll only be love. Probably this is Kalki Avatar, where it has come back to use violence as a tool, but through Mother Ishwarama's intervention, as probably Swami would have prompted her through in that form. It is Ishwarama Mother, she had intervened, and then Swami blessed that devotee, honoring her word, and made it his life's mission, and he showed us the power of love.
See, Bhagwan never takes credit for anything, and that's the beauty
Absolutely.
of him. As you said, he could have used and created Mother Ishwarama to do that so that she gets the credit. But interesting thing is that literally after that, we have seen so many people criticizing, commenting on Bhagwan, and even trying to hurt him directly. And he has never reacted back to them, or he
Never.
has never allowed the reactions to happen to them. They would
Absolutely.
have faced the consequence on their own accord, which is different. But from an avataric perspective, that has never happened. Wonderful. So it's a very interesting thing that to see that in avataric journeys, these transitional periods are always there. And it's a very beautiful to see there is a kind of similarity in all the avatars, be it Rama, Krishna, or Bhagwan Baba. So now journey moves, and Ram also decides to leave Chitrakoot. Sorry, yeah, and they move forward from Chitrakoot, and they reach the ashram of sage Atri and Anusuya. Raju, this is another, I would say, Maharishi Atri and Anusuya. They are another blessed soul, and I would like you to at least give a little intro of these two people. I'm sure most of us know Ma Anusuya. She was the mother
She was the mother of
who
Dattatreya.
Dattatreya, Rishi Durvasa, and Chandra.
Chandra, yes. In fact,
So we can imagine, yeah,
she's considered to be so pious that she was able to turn the
Tridev, Tridev into
demons into
child.
small children and feed them. Such is the
So it's
stature of
fantastic,
this lady, of this
this
mother,
lady.
and
And this is,
Dattatreya.
yeah. So here is that lady who also offers a yellow sari. Bhagwan says very divine yellow sari to Sita, which required no washing or maintenance. And this is the sari which Sita wore for rest of the exile period. So this is the Maharishi Atri and Anusuya. And this is ashram which now these three have reached. So Raju, you want to share a few highlights on that?
I would only just talk about, I wanted to mention about Dattatreya, Durvasa, and Chandra, that
Hmm.
they say that Dattatreya, who is, I mean, your children are the reflection of parents, is what they say. And look at the children of this couple, Atri and Anasuya, Dattatreya, Durvasa, and Chandra, and all Chandra is the moon. And all these three have had their uh, beautiful interactions with the Lord in their own manner, and they have expounded one of the Vedic system of knowledge. and Chandra is known for Upangas, and then Durvasa is known for another, especially Atharva Veda and Yajur Veda, while others are taken care by Dattatreya. And even to such an extent, Dattatreya has also become a demigod, rather god in many places. So Lord Ramachandra visiting them is not a normal event. It is because we are talking about those, that stature of those sages, and what would have been Rama's stature. That Atri is, Rama Swami says, he is so elated, and Anusuya is also so elated. But however, Swami is a great writer. I mean, he packs message so beautifully that we read that line where Mother Anasuya is talking to Sita, and then there is a small slip that happens. It's one line, but it's an
See, Raj,
indication as
yeah, I think we should highlight that part very well, because when they reach there, it is very nice to note. Bhagavan has mentioned how Atri receives him. Sage Atri, Maharshi Atri, is so like in tune, I should say, with the whole happening and with Ram, that he's in bliss. He receives, and he spends most of the time praising Ram and telling the whole audience about Ram's attributes and Ram's characteristics. It is so beautiful that he goes on in that way, and there's a kind of satsang happening. So we can all imagine how Bhagwan would sit down in the evening and somebody's trying to praise him and Bhagwan starts giving discourse. So that kind of a feel is on. But in that dialogue, you rightly pointed out that Ma Anusuya, can you imagine stature of Ma Anusuya? And she turns towards Sita and starts giving her guidelines of what is the duty and dharma of a lady, what is the dharma of a householders, the wife, and what is her dharma in different situations. So she is trying to tell Sita, and that is the time when Sita intervenes and she starts describing Ram. She doesn't talk about herself, and she talks about Ram, but she starts telling about Prakriti and Purusha. When Anusuya is telling her Stri Dharma, she tells him who is Stri and who is Purusha. And then she tells that here all of us are Stri. The only Purush Tattva here is Ram. And it's very interesting, you rightly pointed out and share further now, that how even Ma Anusuya needed that little jerk to realize that, hey, who are you telling? And she's teaching Stri Dharma, whereas everybody, the one who's talking, she tells her what is true Stri and who is true Purusha. And that is, I wish Bhagavan had given us more in depth discourse of what Mother Sita has spoken, but it is not too much there. But I love that whole explanation of the concept of Purusha and Stri. She uses the word Purusha and Stri, and how she says the only Purush Tattva is Ram, and rest all of us are Stris. So, Raju,
yes, brother. In fact, as Swami says, so powerful is Maya that the Vishnu Maya is so powerful that it can cloud anyone. In fact, there is that saying where Vyasa writes the entire Mahabharata, and he has that vision of Bhishma praising Lord Krishna in 1008 names, the Vishnu Sahasranama, and that same Narayana. So, and it so happens that Vyasa accosts Krishna, and basically he meets Krishna, and he tells, the conversation goes thus that he says that Krishna asks him, so tell me something beautiful, something very interesting. And there's that entire court of Pandavas and all his friends, the Yadava clan and Pandavas. And incidentally, it happens around Ugadi time. So Vyasa tells him, I am going to tell you, there's that Telugu poem where it says, Vyasa tells him, I am going to tell you the sweetest of story, or rather, the greatest of political drama that has ever happened. It is the essence of all Vedas. He gives description of Mahabharata, and he adds a line saying, you may find the details very interesting. And it seems at that moment, Krishna smiles, gives a smile, and that is when he realizes, oh my god, whom am I actually talking to, whom am I telling, whom am I trying to tell Mahabharata? It is this Lord Krishna who has scripted it through and through, and to him I am narrating, to that 1008 names Vishnu Swarupa I am narrating this uh, story. There it was the Krishna smile, and here it is Sita's very subtle, very subtle jibe to Anasuya to wake her up from the Vishnu Maya. And the great lady that she is, as soon as she realized that she is actually speaking to other half of Ramachandra, and Swami goes on to say that, and thus Sita has explained the principle of Rama to those people. When Swami says that Sita has explained, probably she would have had that experience. The definition of explanation is very different to people of that stature compared to the normal minds. So probably she would have experienced Rama's uh, infinite uh, grace and that holiness. And Swami goes on to write that next day, even uh, after that, very strangely, Atri and Anusuya disappear in Swami's writing. The next few lines, Swami says it was Rama who gave advice to all the residents of the ashramites, and they spent a happy time in the ashram. And next day, when they are leaving, everybody is crying. They are shedding tears that Rama, you have you have blessed us, now you are leaving. And this appears to be the culmination of Atri and Anusuya's journey. Rama blessed them, and then they moved forward, the three.
Yeah. So next in the story, as they move forward, they're not only rishis they meet, and they meet next a very interesting character, and Virdha. Virdha is actually a Gandharv who was under Kuber. He was transformed due to some mistake he committed into an ogre. Can you imagine a Gandharva being punished and he becomes an ogre? And he had created havoc in that area. And this is where he interacts, he intervenes with Ram, Lakshman, and obviously they had a little kind of a fight, I would say, but Ram kills him. And as they say that as soon as he's dead, and I know Bhagwan very beautifully also mentions, I don't know the inner significance of that description, but he says that Vrida had a spear, three-pronged spear, which was, and Ram threw shot a crescent-headed arrow, which not only destroyed this spear, but cut his head off. And as soon as he died, his spirit merged into Ram. And look at the beauty of this death. He was transformed. Actually, I don't know. They say that some stories also describe that he appeared and thanked Ram for liberating him from this curse. But more interesting was that Sri Ram performed his last rites as prescribed by the scriptures. And Raju, I don't think that by that time, even Ram had performed rites for even his father.
Dasharath,
So
yes.
it's very interesting that not only Ram kills him or liberates him from his physical body, but he also performs the last rites of him. So Vridha, a Gandharv who was an ogre in this life, was liberated by Ram.
Yes, brother. In fact, I'm just reminded of this beautiful uh, speech that one of our brothers gave in Swami's presence, and Swami acknowledged it so beautifully. And this brother says, Swami goes on to explain also, Swami goes on to add little in the end. He says, it was sheer act of compassion that Krishna killed Duryodhana. The soul the soul of that that entity of Duryodhana got caught in that maya, that it was with every act it was only destroying itself. It was getting caught in endless karmic cycles. It was through every act of hatred, through every act of jealousy, it was getting caught, it was getting intertwined in that web of karma. That only way that that soul can be taken out from that intertwining, destroying itself further and further, is to finish off this body, to kill this body. And the act of death is is a great act of compassion from the eyes of the Lord. Now what appears to be cruel, what appears to be punishment in through our eyes, if we look at it from the eyes of the Lord, it is actually an act of great compassion. This is exactly what happened even with Vruda. Virudha, we look at Virudha, if you look at from a human, from our limited understanding, Rama has killed an ogre. But the Lord's sheer compassion from his eyes, it is a very different story. He has actually liberated that soul which was caught in that terrible body of Nogar, which was creating a lot of havoc, which was inflicting pain, which was inflicting violence. Through that shell, this beautiful Gandharva was lost, was caught because of his ignorant act. And Rama, the only way to liberate was this act of killing that ogre. And probably Swami would have scolded us, Swami would have ignored us. It's from one side, from one perspective, it appears to be a punishment. But from the other side, probably it is Swami is breaking that shell of Virada that we have donned on us through various forms and means. And these acts of punishment are actually acts of liberation, acts of compassion. I think this is what Swami is beautifully telling us through this story of Virada.
And in the next, when they move forward, see the journey is continuing and they move forward and they meet another wonderful soul, a wonderful saint or a rishi, you can call him. His name is Rishi Sarabhanga. Rishi Sarabhanga, his story, I have not gathered much information, but whatever Bhagwan has mentioned and little I've tried to read, is that he was doing penance all his life there in the forest, waiting for Ram to come. And it seems just before Ram could arrive at Sarabhanga's ashram, Indra had come and in his own chariot, it seems, as the story goes, and offers him to take him to heaven. He says, "You are eligible, you are ready, you can come." But Rishi Sarabhanga, in his meditative mood, he had felt the arrival of Ram and he knew that he cannot leave without seeing him. And he refuses, declines the offer of Indra and heaven. And he continues to wait there. And then, after some time, Lord Ram with Sita and Lakshman arrive at Rishi Sharavanga's ashram. And the description which Bhagwan writes is very amazing. You know, they talk about it like as a child, Sharbanga Rishi is dancing with joy. He's happy, ecstatic. He's like totally lost in the ecstasy of seeing Ram. And Ram is also so happy that Ram says, Sharbanga, I want to give you something. Ask for a boon. Because Rishi Sharbanga is so much in joy that he has lost the sense of time, length of his body, and Ram pushes him. And Sharbanga says that, hey Ram, my desire is that when I leave this body, I want you to be there and watch me do so. Can you imagine this? This prayer itself is like when I read it first time. It is very shocking and like that desire that I want to leave by Ram in front of my eyes, and I want him to watch me while I do that. And Ram beautifully agrees, smiles and agrees, and they prepare the pyre right away, and the pyre is lighted, and he climbs on it and sits. And Bhagwan writes it so beautifully that the full time as Saravanga Rishi gets onto the fire and settles down there in the fire, his eyes are glued on to Ram. He has a smile on his face and he is not at all worried. He has a smile on his face all through and he's continuously looking at Ram. And in the split second, his body turns into ash. And there is a, like, the Jai Ghosh, that sound of, praising Rishi Sharabanga and glorifying Lord Ram. And then all the disciples, they take the ash and they rub it on their own bodies as their blessing of the Guru. Do you anything want to add, Raju? It's a fantastic story. I think, what
And
kind of rishis waiting there for Lord's one glimpse.
yes, brother. In fact, this song that Swami writes, where Rama 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 Sita Srimad Ravikula Mandu Janinchi Sita Devani Preeti Varinchi. Swami would often sing this song, Ram Ram Rama Sita Rama 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 Sita Rama
Sita
Rama.
Ram, Ram, Ram. Yes, huh?
So this is a song that Swami would often sing after Sri Ram Navami discourses. And this is a song that Swami had written, which is basically summarizing entire Ramayana into 7 or 8 stanzas. In this, only very two people in the Rishi section. Swami does not make a mention of any Rishi, but Swami makes a mention of Sharabhanga, the Munindru Labrochi. Sharabhanga is the only Rishi who finds a mention in Swami's summary.
Wow. Really?
Yes,
I never noticed that. Yeah. Oh my God.
yes, and in fact, he's the only Rishi which that actually led me to do my research. Then I realized why the Lord was so compassionate that He gave him. He's the only Rishi where Swami, when Swami summarized entire Ramayana into that song, and another person where Swami also. So there are only two people who have actually sought this kind of death, as Swami in one discourse says, and both are on, like, it's on either side of the say human
Sector.
evolution. Yeah, but like one is Sharabhanga, who had set his eyes on the Lord and left his body. Other was Vali. After being shot, Rama offers him to revive back, but Vali says, I can get back all that I have lost. But this opportunity to set my eyes on you and pass away, I will not get. So let me die. So and Swami says, Chendina Kinikata Valini Gurinchi. He's Vali's other person, Swami. Uh, Swami makes a mention. Swami Ramachandra has killed innumerable demons, innumerable people. But Vali is the only person who gets mentioned by Swami in that. Chendina Kinikata Valini Gurinchi. Rest all Swami leaves. Swami
Wow.
does not even directly mention Ravana's name. Vali is the only one who gets mentioned as the one who is killed by Rama, and Sharabhanga is the only one who gets mentioned Rama as Swami as the sage blessed by Rama. I think Sharabhanga epitomizes that. I mean, absolute, absolute detachment to body. For him, body was just a toy. It was like, yeah, it is burning, but there is no pain. I mean, this he epitomizes what a devotee should be. Ramachandra standing there and Sharabhanga getting burned, immolating himself without a trace of pain. I mean, what an amount of sense control, what amount of love that person would have had on Rama. That
Wow.
absolutely, what a stunning
Wow.
devotee.
Wow. Thank you for sharing this. Actually, this really changed the whole perspective on Sharvanga. I wish we had more information on his life, how
Yes,
he
yes.
lived,
In
how he
fact,
reached that spot.
in one of the try sessions, I had written this story also. In one of the try sessions, I remember Swami very vaguely mentioning, it seems many times Sharabhanga would mention that he would actually perform a great yajna. So many devotees were wondering as to what that yajna would be. And in fact, when Rama came to the ashram, only Rama, Sita, Lakshmana, and Sharabhanga knew the exact request of Sharabhanga. Rest all were wondering that as to the great yajna that Sharabhanga is going to perform. So Sharabhanga asked for the logs to be brought. None of them were aware. They were thinking that Sharabhanga is going to do a great yajna. And Lakshmana was dazed, like he could never believe his ears that he heard this request. And Sita tried to persuade, and as Swami beautifully says, she also gave up. And Sharabanga, when he climbs onto the pyre, this particular whoever is the disciple, so Sharabanga asks him to light that pyre. All of them were wondering that Sharabanga is going to display some kind of yogic uh, event, yogic achievements, that that fire would not burn him. But contrary to all their expectations, his body begins to burn. And that's when they realize that he's actually immolating himself in Rama's presence. And they begin to shout and shriek. And someone tries to get water, but there is no water available in ashram that day, mysteriously. And as Sharabanga's body is completely burnt, Rama gets up, he looks at the ashram, and everybody falls silent with that one look. It was no more the son of Dashratha. It is Lord Ramachandra who has come to bless his devotee, Sharabhanga. And with that one look, I remember it was as if a, a parda was being covered, a wheel was being covered on their voice. It was like everybody, as Rama turned like this, wherever his glance went, people turned silent. They realized, oh my God, he is Lord himself. And then
Beautiful.
Rama gives that vibhuti, uh, the burnt ashes of Sharabhanga.
Burnt
This is
ashes. Beautiful. I want to show people this. I've tried to create a map just to follow Ram and see how he's traveling. So we had reached last time through Chitrakoot, and from Chitrakoot he's traveling probably in this way to Unkeshwar temple, and this is a Sharbanga's ashram, which is today at today's time it is a Shiva temple called Unkeshwar temple. It is very close to Adilabad, and this
yes,
is how probably on the way. If you do a like audience, I'm just sharing this thought. My study is that rishis ashrams were not constant, and rishis did not stay in one place. Like Gautam Rishi's ashram, we know it was near Mithila, but that was later on. So originally, Gautam Rishi was somewhere else, and we'll see that. So that's why these rishis ashrams might have moved because of timing. So at this journey time, whatever I could gather from Bhagwan's discourses and his storyline, we have tried to map it, but it is only our offering. So please keep that in mind. So this is how Unkeshwar temple they reach. This is the temple of Rishi Sharabhanga. So after this, they again go forward, and moving forward, they meet another beautiful Rishi, Suteshna. Rishi Suteshna also is devotee, and this is a little comparison we can make from Suteshna and Sharabanga. He is also ecstatic seeing Ram. The description is almost similar. Suteshna is so excited. He's so happy. He's like jumping with joy, I would say, and they both become like childlike, and they are ecstatic. Sorry. And even to Sutishna, Ram offers a boon. I think when I was going through it, I realized that both of them have a lot of similarities from that. But the interesting thing is the difference of approach and what they are expecting from Lord. Rishi Sutishna is a disciple of Maharishi Agastya. So you can say his another caliber is very high. He asks for a boon that, oh Lord, you reside in the depth of my heart with Sita and Lakshman. And as we move forward, we'll see the orientation of a disciple also changes with the Guru. So Agastya, the way Agastya approaches Ram is also very interesting. We'll see it later on. But Rishi Suteshna's boon is that Lord, reside in my heart with Sita and Lakshman. Whereas our Rishi, I am so excited to read Sharavanga. He prays that Lord, as I leave my body, I want to keep looking at you and you be watching me. So look at two rishis, both ecstatic to see Lord, both have lived all their life waiting for God, And God, equally excited to see both of them, offers boons, but they are two different boons coming out. And Sutikshna receives him beautifully, and from this is what. So, any input on Sutikshna, Raju?
Yes, brother. In fact, as I recollect, Agastya. So the news of Sharabhanga's death has reached, and Swami beautifully explains that the news spread like wildfire, and people came to pay homages to Sharabhanga. And now Agastya's ashram also gets this news, and Agastya has to send a pupil to get Ramachandra to his ashram. Now Sharabhanga, he was prompted through divine uh, prompting that he should be sending Sharabhanga. So Sutikshna. Sutikshna was a relatively younger person. He dashes off to welcome Ramachandra, and Rama was apparently, Swami described in our, I think it was 2001. It seems Swami's Ramachandra was, all the sages had gathered, and they were wondering as to what happened to this, how lucky was the Sharabhanga. So the Sutikshna dashes off into the crowd, and he's ecstatic, and that beautiful conversation between Rama and Sutikshna happens. And after Rama opens his mouth to speak to Sharabhanga, to Sutikshna was so lost in the divine ecstasy that he begins to dance. He begins to dance around Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana, and to all the onlookers, it appears like a madman jumping around Rama. But it was Sutikshna alone who was experiencing the divine love that Rama was embodying. He's so lost in that divine ecstasy that is the top part, the angavastram that is covering his top part falls away, and even the bottom part begins to loosen up. Now people are wondering as to how this would end. So he's dancing right in front of Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana. It would be quite embarrassing to have him naked. But Rama gets up and he covers him with that cloth, and Rama holds his hand and presses one of the fingers, and that's it. Sudikshna was given. Rama effortlessly blessed him, so effortlessly blessed him that what sages have pined for thousands of years. They do the tapasya for thousands of years, and yet they are not blessed with that. Sutikshna won it just like that, and Sutikshna experienced that samadhi, supreme samadhi. And even Swami mentions it that Sutikshna was unmoved like a doll. He just went into the supreme state of bliss. With a simple touch, Ramachandra sent Sutikshna to that highest state of ecstasy. And Sutikshna
Yeah,
comes back.
absolutely.
Yes. And Sutikshna comes back. After that, he needs nothing. He wants nothing. In fact, he is the one who leads Ramachandra to Agastya's ashram. But the
Yeah.
beauty is you don't need, I mean, how beautifully is Lord conveying. There are so many ways in which you can pray to Lord. Right there was Atri and Anusuya, the epitome of human knowledge, and next to them were this Virada, who was turned into an augur because of ignorance, and even he is capable of approaching the Lord. And after that, even through death, you can pray to Lord, and even through madness, through simple ecstatic emotions, if they are converted to Lord, they become a medium for that supreme state of samadhi or that Lord's infinite blessing. Each of these episodes, Swami so beautifully tells us that
Yes.
ways and means of praying to the Lord are really limited to our imagination.
And then the journey moves forward, and Sutishna guides them to the ashram of Agastya. And here, Raju, very interestingly, Bhagwan has spent a good amount of time explaining the surrounding and the environment of the ashram itself. And I don't know if he has described ashram of any other rishi in this manner as he does for Agastya. And the
Hmm.
description is very, I would say picturesque, and it has got all the poetic language to describe how beautiful it is. And if anybody comes there, they would not even believe it's a forest. It looks like a lush green garden with flowers, and nature is in utmost beauty. And one important element which Bhagwan mentions is that the environment, astoundingly spiritual atmosphere, where even the animals forget their natural animosity. So, which means deer and lions can be found drinking water together or sitting together. So, the moment you come into that proximity of the ashram, the whole environment is so spiritually charged that everybody loses their innate nature and becomes part of the divine nature. And that is why everybody is so pure. And he writes it like there is fear, free from fear or animosity. There is no iota of fear in anybody there. And that is the beauty of the ashram of Agastya. So imagine a rishi whose aura can create such an environment. What level he must be himself. That not only he, but everything around him has turned spiritual and blessed. And Sutikshana obviously runs forward to inform sage that Lord has come. And Agastya, with whole protocol, comes up, receives him, and he's also ecstatic. But interesting thing, which I would like to highlight here, is that Ram again gives him also a boon, and the sage Agastya, he also asks for a boon. And this is where I was telling you that look at the guru and the shishya. And the beauty is, Ram says, ask, and he prays, I prefer always to worship your attributeful form and not your attribute-less principle. That Agastya has this hidden desire. A pure devotee, a pure, it's a romance of a devotee and God. So this is Sage Agastya. Raju, you want to share something about Sage Agastya?
Agastya is considered to be the another brother of Vasishtha. So both of
Yeah.
them, they appear, they seem to have come from a pot, and so it's very similar. In fact, Ramachandra, we find Rama being hugged only by two people. I mean, without Rama's explicit permission. One is Vasishtha, when they are we find, apart from the family members, apart from the immediate family members, when Rama was leaving for after the studies, when he is leaving, Vasishtha hugs him. And here again we find the similar mention. Agastya hugs Rama without even waiting for his permission, and Rama allows that to happen. And that sentence where Rama says the first opening line, he says, "Oh monarch amongst monks." I mean, what a way of addressing. He puts Agastya right at the top. He does not give that stature even to Atri and Anusuya. And here is Agastya getting that remark from acknowledgement from Ramachandra. And the next two lines also go saying that I have nothing to hide from you. You know too well why I have come into the forest. Tell me how I can destroy the brood of demonic persons. He is the probably, if you look at the entire sequence of events, he is the only person till now, the first person to whom the mission is revealed directly. Swami says Gita was revealed to Arjuna because he gave up himself. That entity, individual entity called Arjuna, gave up itself to Krishna, and Arjuna becomes worthy to receive Gita. And people of such stature, like Agastya, probably would have given up everything, and they are now almost resembling, reflecting Ramachandra. And he is the only person who gets a direct revelation from Rama as to the reason as why Rama came into the forest. He says, I can his mission statement is very clear. The brood of demonic persons have to be destroyed who obstruct the austerities of sages and monks. And how and it is to protect and preserve that paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya dushkrutam, to protect the austerities of the sages and saints and to destroy the demons. I have come to forest. And very subtly Rama is also telling, I am now making you instrument through whom this direction should flow out. Where he says, tell me how I can destroy. Why should Rama tell Agastya? Is it not Agastya? Is Agastya unaware that the mission of Rama. But Rama is making him responsible now. As per your guidance, Agastya, the next set of events would unfold. It's a very coded, looks like a very coded conversation between the Lord and his devotee, and Agastya, as he goes on to say that I have
But
gone here.
but if you Raju, if you notice it, you know, there is always a tricky sentence which Avatar uses. So even though Ram says to Agastya that you know everything, but tell me how do I do that?
Yes,
So there's a spin there that you
absolutely.
can get caught. You can get caught there. And but Agastya is the only person who escapes that. Not only I would say, but at least he escapes that. And he immediately smiles back at Ram and says, "You, the one who created everything, the one who controls everything, need not ask me. But since you have commanded, and it's my joy and privilege to be part of this, so I shall tell you." So there is a very clear thought that I know who you are. But since you have said this drama has to go on, I will allow that. I will enjoy that and do that with you. And Agastya moves forward. Raju, here is a brother Yash asking, has any devotee hugged Bhagwan Swami without his permission? And what was his experience? There's a question where, brother, I only know two people actually who have done that and historically captured that. One was Swami Shivananda and one was Swami Purushottamananda. Both are Rishikesh based saints. When Bhagwan went, Purushottamananda came out of his cave, ran up, and he hugged him. There was later on, he bowed on or might have, I don't know, but it was the initial was hug. So the ecstasy of a devotee. Raju, do you know anybody? So I,
No, but I think these are only probably that, as you said, the history has recorded. But like Brother Yash is asking us to recall the count or recall the count of number of waves that have come on an ocean. Impossible. These are only two that we are aware of, but there have been innumerable instances. Devotees went. I for just to make it clear, I know for a fact that I have seen it with my own eyes. A small kid, 4-year-old kid, Swami is coming for darshan. This kid got up, ran up to Swami, and this kid hugged. She was almost up to just above Swami's knee level, and
yes,
she
I
was
have seen that. From
yes,
primary school days, she came running and hugged Swami.
Swami.
I
Yeah, so
remember that.
yes, innumerable. There must be innumerable instances of where devotees hugging the Lord, but we are aware of only two to
Beautiful.
three that as you have mentioned.
So beautiful. So beautiful. Okay. So just to take the journey forward, and this is how it moved. So from Chitrakoot to this one, and then on the way here, the ogre killing, Sharabanga and others, and reaching Agastya Ashram. So this is Agastya. It is very close to Shirdi and Triambakeshwar, that area of today. There is an Agastya Rishi temple. So now they are into that. So this is where the map, I'm just showing you so that at least visually people can get an idea about how things are working. And from there she says enter Dandakaranya, and Dandakaranya is another a beautiful story. This is a peak of it. It's a dense forest entry, and at the verge of it says at the verge of Dandakaranya there is Chitrakoot. Oh, Panchavati, sorry, Panchavati. So
Panchvati.
now the command is that the guidance is that you can go and stay there. And this is what Agastya has to tell. But Raju, it will be nice to share a quick story or synopsis of how the Dandakaranya became Dandakaranya and the name of it.
As Swami beautifully explains, he gives the reason as to why this name has come upon. So there are two stories, the history that Swami talks about. One is sage Gautama. So there was a massive drought that had actually hit that entire region, and there were no rains, no food. Sage Gautam, people assemble in Sage Gautama's ashram, and through his yogic power, through his power, he he brings them enough food, and as the drought comes to an end, some of these monks, and Gautama had become very famous because of this act. Some of these jealous monks who wanted to revenge, who wanted to tarnish Gautama's image, they bring a almost a cow on the verge of dying, and it was about to destroy a flower in Gautama's ashram, and Gautama pushes it, and this cow dies, and people attribute that Gohatya Patakam to Gautama, and Gautama through his meditation realizes the petty intentions of these people, that he curses that this entire forest would be inaccessible to people of great thoughts, and only low thinking creatures would exist there. Oh, yes, may this forest by low minded persons be out of my bounds for the good and saintly. And that's how it becomes the house for all the demonic people. And another story is of the Dandaka. He was, Danda, he was a ruler who unfortunately could not control his senses, and he violated the chastity of his guru's daughter, Bhrugu's daughter, and Brugu curses that this entire he was in that extreme rage, anger. He was so overwhelmed with that anger that he caused the entire region be filled with a downpour of dust, and eventually that did happen, and this entire green field had turned into a massive uh, inhabitable region of Dandakaranya. That's how the Dandaka Aranya. And in Telugu, it also means Dandaka is intense, extremely thick. You cannot even, the light does not penetrate. It is such a forest that Rama was actually now walking into.
Aranya is also forest.
Yes, Aranya is also
Yeah,
forest. Yes.
Aranya is forest. So that is where they are entering. That whole region became very densely. Uh, and now, that's why I was telling you that I was reading that Gautama must have had an ashram there, and then he moved out to different place. So probably everybody has, for a time, because no rishi has any attachment to any particular ashram. Like we saw
Yes.
Vishwamitra also. He said, I use this, even though it was made by, the ashram was made by his father or somebody, and then he moves from there and he leaves the ashram open for anybody else to come and do it. So it's like everybody has that beauty. So, so from, yeah. So now Agastya guides them to go towards Panchavati, and on the way of Panchavati, they meet another friend of their father, and that was Jatayu. He was called Pakshiraj. He was the king of the birds, and it seems Bhagwan says he's an old friend of Emperor Dashrath, who had fought many wars alongside Dashrath. So you can imagine the collaboration at that time. So for saying sake, Jatayu was from south. Obviously, they could fly anywhere, but the collaboration, Dashrath there, and they both collaborated to fight with the demons anywhere. So Jatayu of that caliber, who was a friend, so when he got to meet Ram, he inquires about Dashrath. He asked about, like, a friend, how is he and what happened and all that. And it's a very brief meeting with Jatayu, and they move towards further towards Panchavati.
And whether this,
And now, sorry,
yeah,
Raju, yeah.
just to add, just two more interesting snippets. One is
Hmm.
the starting conversation between Agastya and Sri Ramachandra, where
Hmm.
Agastya gives all the weapons. I mean, here is this devotee, Agastya, moving his reliance upon
Oh, yes, yes,
Astra
yes. Thank you for
Lord
mentioning. I
Ramachandra,
forgot that.
and he gives away those weapons, and Rama asks him, don't you need them? And that line is a stunning revelation as to the complete transformation of Agastya. He says, Rama, he was holding those weapons till now, and now he's handing them over to Rama, and he says, you are my shield, my strength, my prowess. These weapons can't save me, but you can. Your grace is my most powerful weapon. You are my refuge, my fortress, the impenetrable armor for my breast. Look at this surrender. This is through this, Swami is very beautifully telling us, the readers, as to the journey of Agastya seems to have come to an end. I mean, he has now, till now, he has relied upon weapons to protect him, but now he has given up, and he is relying upon Ramachandra, his grace, to protect him. I mean, this is the journey in a very simple sense, and in fact, Rama uses those very weapons
Symbolic,
to destroy.
but quite symbolic
Yes,
also.
quite symbolic. And then comes this description where Rama Swami says that Dandakaranya, which was shriveled, which was lifeless till then because of the evil thoughts, because of the evil intentions of those people living, inhabiting that forest, suddenly seems to come to life when Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana begins to walk in. Says the creepers begin to feel lot of life, and the trees begin to sway with the joy, and there is life all around. Like all of us, I'm sure, have experienced in Swami's presence. Swami would come for darshan. It cannot be described in words. Like I'm sure all of us have, but there is that magic that happens in the air. Don't know how it happens, but it just happens. And all of us know that the presence itself is so electrifying that you are actually transported to somewhere else. If you ask someone to describe in words, impossible. It's an experience where the expression gets lost in the experience. It is impossible to even define it. And something similar is happening to this entire forest region. The creepers, the trees, and probably the animals now are feeling those divine vibrations of Lord coming in to their rescue. And
And it
that's
is very precarious. It's very close to Agastya Ashram. So it
right. Yep.
has that effect, and the nature is very beautiful. So, and again, here also they plan to make an hermitage where they can stay for a long time. And now they are reaching or moving towards what we know as Panchavati. So all the five elements are blooming here, and they reach this place called Panchavati. And now a very typical scenario happens, which Raju, you are mentioning it before. They had to decide where to build this hermitage.
Yes.
And Ram very casually, and I always feel that this incident was, you know, like Bhagavan always says, everything has its purpose and a meaning. So what happens there was not just between Ram and Lakshman, but I believe it was to showcase to the world the caliber, the character, and the persona of Lakshman. Otherwise, we would not get an insight or like peek into his inner core character. What was Lakshman? So here's the story of selecting a place, and Bhagavan has narrated it so many times. So Raju, can you help us to
Yes, brother.
share
So
that?
in fact, when Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana reach a particular spot, Rama tells him that Lakshmana, please erect a ashram, a hermitage for all of us, where, to a spot in a spot where you like. And the next thing that they notice is Lakshmana rolling on the ground and wailing and crying. And apparently, as Swami describes so dramatically, both of them are shocked as to why this sudden change of emotions in Lakshmana. And Lakshmana is crying and saying that, have I committed such a heinous crime that you have cursed me? Is this a blessing or a curse? And he goes on rant. And apparently Rama, as Swami describes, Rama is a bit confused to why is this sudden bout of expression. And then Lakshmana explains that, Lord, I have actually given up myself. The stature, that is why Lakshmana could follow Rama. Says, I have the idea of me has been surrendered to you. There is no more me. So when I am, that I is not there, then how can I have my liking? How I can have my disliking? How can I make decisions? I have given up
Raju,
my.
I remember Bhagavan mentioning one day the statement of Lakshman is very typical. He says, if you have asked, that means I must have that iota of I-ness left in me.
Absolutely.
Because you have asked. So all my penance of all my life seems to have been wasted. I have failed you, Lord. I have failed you, my master. Because you asked, you can't be wrong. So which means that iota is still lying in me, and I'm so sorry about it. So look at the spin there. Only a sincere devotee can feel that Lord, you can't make a mistake. But since you asked, that shows I must have something left in me, and that has prompted you to say that. And I am sorry about it, and I feel guilty about that.
Beautiful.
You know, you can't even pretend these kind of discussions with the Lord. And those of us who have had this privilege of, talking in front of Bhagavan in a private conversations also, we know how impossible it is to speak in front of him. Forget about pretending in front of him. So whatever has to happen there has to happen very spontaneously and with full conviction. Otherwise, he will snap it right there. And look at Lakshman's attitude, right? So I think this whole drama was enacted just to highlight that part, that look how, like, this is what Bhagwan calls, I think, Sukshma Buddhi, that you have to be always alert to know that have I deviated? And if I have deviated, how do I come back? So he's not even blaming Ram. He's saying, since you said it, that means I have still not reached. And that is what I feel bad, that I have failed you again. And the beauty of it is that Ram immediately comes back and says, Lakshman, it was just my humor. I didn't mean at all. Come, I'll show you the spot. And then Ram pulls him to a spot and tells him, okay, build here. And that gives Lakshman the joy. So, the Lord turning right away and then saying, okay, okay, I'll take care of it. And then taking the command and saying, okay, do it here, build it here. And Lakshman starts to collect and start building. And in fact, Ram and Sita both join to assist Lakshman in building this beautiful hermitage, which becomes their temporary home for next 13 years.
In fact, Rama, as Swami beautifully adds in one of the discourse, he says, only when you can give up that identity, only then Lord takes the responsibility of telling you the place of his or the area of his residence. Only then you can find him at his residence. And says you become an instrument in setting up Lord's residence. In one of the discourses I remember where Swami explains that as long as you have that individual identity, it is your identity, it is your hut, it is your hermitage. But the minute you give up that individual self, it becomes the residence of the Lord. And Rama is exactly displaying this. Is Swami is telling us through Rama's story that Rama holds Lakshmana hand and Swami writes it there. He takes him to a particular spot and tells him that this is the spot that you should be erecting the hermitage, the hut. But as I think all of us also should ponder that. I remember, like, there is one classmate of mine, in fact, in my own case, where I am not, I'm very sensitive person, and the Lord being Lord, he knew that if he scolds me, like any, I have seen Swami, using anger to an extreme to with some of the brothers, with some of the devotees. But with me, it has been a very different case where he would jocularly remark, and the joke would convey my mistake. The joke. So Lord knows exactly. He's like the perfect doctor. He knows which instrument to use for which disease. Lakshmana being so sensitive, Rama could have. How beautifully, how clever is Rama? That Rama uses this instance to point out to Lakshmana, and in the garb of he conveys the message, but yet again he appears saying that no, that's only you are very innocent, your feelings are very innocent, don't take it to heart, but the message is conveyed. And Lakshmana knew that Rama would not waste any word. And I think it that the diplomacy of the Lord is also so beautiful to some, to to a very careful reader, if you look at the way in which Lakshmana reacted and the way in which Agastya reacted are very different. Swami Rama asked Agastya the same question. Same question. Tell me, where should I reside? Tell me, where should I go next? And Agastya's reaction is very different. Lakshmana's reaction is very different. The two different personalities. Yes, and that is the reason probably why Lakshmana got on to stay with Ramachandra, while in some sense, a physical level, Agastya got left back, left out in the ashram.
Yes, you're right. I would agree there because to stay with Avatar in a physical form has a different checklist, different requirements. I have had the privilege of talking to some of the brothers in the olden times when, you know, they would live with Bhagwan and just to quiet. And I have observed many of them, did not think at that time. And some of them even made a statement like, you can't afford to think in front of Swami. Your focus is totally Bhagwan because a small wrong thought can get you kicked out. So I don't know whether they were consciously able to do that or just because they were focused on God, everything else happened. But the beauty is that they did experience a life wherein they did not think. There was no choice. They did not have a demand. They did not have a personal, whims or choices which they wanted to ask Swami. And all of that together culminated their privilege to be near, physically near God. And it's a very, like I would say, very high expectation to achieve also. And I always admired a person like, Radha Krishna brother, how like they lived with Bhagwan in such a close quarters. What was their state of mind? I wish I could just get into them to understand them and to learn from them. How was Kasturi Garu? You know how attentive Kasturi Garu used to be? In fact, we have a very good story about Dr. Alrija, which we have shared here. I have shared that before also. That Dr. Alrija was so conscious that even with laughter and jokes with Swami, he would never deviate that he is the ultimate. He had a habit that he would go to Bhagwan with the list of patients whom he is going to see today. And then he will tell Bhagwan, and Swami had that Vibhuti basket next to him. So when Dr. Alija will say, Swami, first patient, so and so, this is a problem, what should I say? And Bhagwan will give instructions and then put his hand inside and maybe give him two packets of Vibhuti. He will put it in this pocket. Then next patient, he'll put it in this pocket. He had that safari dress. So he had
Yes.
four pockets in the safari, then two in the pocket, front, pants, and the back. So he would always have like 6, 8 people whom he has to get clearance from Bhagwan, and he would put each in the order of the names 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So one day we watched him do that, and it was very funny because there's an old man having a list in hand, and Bhagwan is giving two packets here, two packets here. So he would put in a different pockets. So we asked him that, sir, Bhagwan has blessed everything. He gave you the Vibhuti packet from the same basket, and the packets are also similar. So you got the bundle. Now you can give no two to each. Like Bhagwan gives usually two packets. He should have given. He said, hey, what do you think he is? And he would hard of hearing, so he would talk loudly.
Yes,
And
exactly.
he would say, hey, aisa nahi bolo. So he would tell us in like Hindi, he would talk and he said, what do you think he is? You should never, discount him and never take it lightly. If Baba gives you a vibhuti, that particular vibhuti packet is for that particular person. I have no right to change the packet also. Even though packets look same, they have the same vibhuti, but For him, it was this packet is for this person, and he would very dutifully give it to that person. So, can you imagine at what level people have to be always alert to live
I,
in that consciousness all the time?
I remember once one of the brothers who was serving Swami, he was narrating an incident where Swami was apparently uh, for a Upanayanam. The students were seated in lines and Swami was distributing them clothes. And this boy was carrying it behind. So he was holding it and Swami was taking it from his hand and Swami was distributing. So in that confusion, apparent confusion, one boy was missed out. Swami did not give cloth to one boy. So his classmate who was sitting next to him, he noticed this, and Swami by then Swami passed. Swami is distributing it. We knew the speed at which he would do it. Like it would 200, 300 students would get over in like 6, 7 minutes, like a jet speed. And apparently it looked like a human error that Swami missed out this particular brother. So this classmate who was sitting next to him, he looked at this brother who did not have any cloth, who was missed out. So he gave his cloth to this fellow, and by then Swami had passed. Swami had already passed to 6 to 7 boys. Swami is ahead. So he signaled to the boy sitting next to them, saying that ask Swami to give me, just pass the cloth that you get, pass the cloth. So these boys looked at this brother who had actually passed his cloth to his classmates. So they were just passing. So as they were passing, the boy who had just received, so that passing went on to the boy who had actually just then received the cloth from his hand. So he noticed that the boy next to him was actually tapping his thigh and asking for the cloth to be passed on. So he's about to keep in that brother's hand. And Swami looked at all the boys in that line, 8 to 9 boys, just looked behind like that. He looked at this brother who he was holding cloth, and I told him, should you not tell them that every cloth that Swami gives is meant only for that particular boy? And that is when it dawned on him, oh my God, my duty is not just to hold this cloth, but it is also to convey the message that that boys, when you're given something, it is for you. I mean, look at the expectation that the Lord has on that servant that is following him. I remember there were instances where some of the senior professors who were allowed to serve Swami in the darshan lines, they would talk of stories as to what it is to be Swami's servant. When Swami would come in darshan line, his the turn of his head would mean a message. The raise of a finger, they should be alert that who should be taken into interview room, who should not be taken into interview room, who should be seated where. That twitch of Swami's eyebrow, they should be able to. Once I remember one of the devotees, old devotee, was apparently was not well known. He was made to sit in third or fourth line, and Swami from there, Swami just glanced at the devotee and glanced at this professor, and the message was clear. These two people ran, caught this particular devotee, made him sit in the front. Not a word was spoken. Swami came. Swami spoke to this elderly devotee. Swami went away. And Sevadal, the head of that Sevadal group, was asking, sir, how did you know? Swami had not told you anything. How did you know? He said, you have to be always alert, be ready. That pitch of Swami's eyebrow, Swami had conveyed to us. The message was clear that we should be doing it. And I think that is what is Lakshmana is telling us, that to lose yourself in the service of the Lord.
That even the thought does not remain. The
Absolutely.
thought of existence is gone. That's beautiful. Let me show you the whole path as they moved. So we have the Chitrakoot. From there we have Unkeshwar temple. On the way here they met other rishis, and Sharbanga ashram is here. And then from there they went to Agastya ashram. On the way they met and Sutekshna and Ogar, and then Agastya, and here is Panchavati. Panchavati is very close to the present day Triambakeshwar Mahadev temple. So I don't know if there's any linkage or anything like that, but it looks like that to me. So this is the route they have taken. And now if you look at the whole route from Ayodhya, they traveled like that to Bharadwaj Ashram, and then Amravati, and then Valmiki Ashram, Chitrakoot, and then Unkeshwar, Agastya, and Panchavati. So this is the place where they spend rest of their exile period. So this is a route they have walked already. So I thought it will be nice for a visual for people to really get an idea as to what is the walkway. And here, as we were talking before also, that they have everywhere they go, there is a session with Ram, and Ram is giving discourses, is interacting with the locals. So each and every spot where Ram stops, and especially in Chitrakoot and in Panchavati, where he established his ashram, there regularly the devotees or the villagers and all the Vanvasis around there would visit Ram morning and evening to get his darshan, blessing, sambhashna. And Ram would give discourses. Raju, I cannot help but imagine the way we all would run to the evening darshan, and imagine the Sai Kulwant hall and Bhagwan sitting in the front, and everybody just gathers around just for his glimpse. And sometimes he will talk, sometimes he may not talk, you know, but everybody is there. So Panchavati became, in a way, Sai Kulwant hall for the next 13 years. And there is a lot of discourses. I really wish it was documented somewhere and we could get a glimpse of what Ram must be sharing with devotees and what all happened there. But Bhagwan does mention slightly that this is Panchavati where everything transpired. Raju.
Yes, brother. In fact, I remember since it's also Ugadi, uh, Swami made a very brief mention of this particular instance where probably Swami would have finished in 3 4 lines, but with that poetic imagination, we had drawn little more details where it seems the first Ugadi that Rama is spending in this forest in the Panchavati, Lakshmana begins to weep in the moment because Lakshmana had not slept. There was always constant vigilance, observation. He was in the constant vigil as to Rama, as to what Rama needs. So Rama and Sita were sleeping in that hermitage, and Lakshmana looks at them, and they were sleeping on that floor, and where they were sleeping on those royal beds. From there to this mud house to this thatched roof house, that devolution of a physical stature, Lakshmana not able to take it. So he wanted to clear his mind, and next day in the morning it would be the dawn of a new year of those times. So he goes out, sits out of the hermitage, and he begins to meditate. He closes his eyes. Essentially, he appears to probably would have been crying, but someday he closed his eyes and he was crying. And there's a pin drop silence, and suddenly there is tap on the door from inside. So it is some signaling that Rama is awake. So he immediately gets up, he opens his eyes, and he realizes that the entire it's in the front part of the hermitage is filled with sages. People had come with all gifts, people had come with all sweets, all whatever fruits to celebrate the new year with Rama. And there were elephants, there were animals, all of them were trying to take a glimpse of Rama on that New Year day. So Lakshmana wants to go and convey this news to Rama. It seems so. Lakshmana opens the door. He wanted to get in to convey the news. Lakshmana opens the door, and Rama walks out full prepared. Rama and Sita come out as if entire scene appeared as if Lakshmana was waiting outside and Rama was getting ready inside. When he opened, Rama came out to receive the sages. And that's when Lakshman realized that, oh my lord, that he has actually come to bless this forest. The denizens of this forest are being blessed by Ramachandra in this form. And for that, he is doing all this drama. So this was a very brief 2, 4, 5 lines Swami mentioned as to how, like these instances, it seems Lakshmana were given uh, glimpses of what Rama has is and what he has come for.
Raju, let's close with this point. And I was just, talking to somebody, and I was reading about Kekai part, and somebody mentioned like if Ram would not have gone to forest in this manner, as a king also he could have traveled and fought wars and killed the demons. So what was the need for Ram to play this drama and use Mother Kekai to do these pledges, and then you know so imagine there's a thought which happens that Ram could have easily come as an emperor, right, and killed the fought like Dashrath had gone to even heaven. He has gone to fight. So what is the big deal here to come to the forest and do that? And I believe I don't know how I don't know about Bhagwan has not written it here, but somebody said that quoting Bhagwan that when Kekai and Ram dialogue was happening, and Kekai tells Ram that yes, I don't mind losing reputation. I don't mind people not putting their daughter's name as Kekai for centuries of life. I don't mind getting criticized and cursed, and I don't mind even going to hell for this. I have no problem in all of that. But how did you, Ram, think of going away from me? I can't live without you for a second. So your condition is separation from me, and that I'm not able to digest. What is the need for you to leave me and go? So that was the final counter of Kekai. That Ram, I don't mind all of that other conditions, but how could you think that I would let you go away from my sight? And there Ram says that, Mother, I must go. And then Kekai said, you can always go and kill them and come back. But why do you have to leave for 14 years? He says, I have come not only for you, Mother, I have devotees waiting for me. I have got so many people who are waiting for their liberation. I have got devotees who cannot get a time with me here. And only when I go to the forest and live there will they be able to enjoy my proximity and get that opportunity for which they have been praying, meditating, and waiting for me for lives together. So the whole drama was as an act of compassion, if I may summarize it, that Ram could have done that even as an emperor, kill all the demons, do the formality. But that would not have given Ram and the devotees the privilege to enjoy Ram's proximity. That would not have given the privilege of Vanvasis to serve Ram and enjoy his physical darshan and sambhashanam every day. For that, Bhagwan Ram chose to suffer physically, even take up all his hardship and convert the whole story into such a way that he would have to live in the forest for 14 years.
Beautiful. Abs- Beautiful.
I find this like, eye opener that, and we humans cannot fathom the divine thought, the divine consciousness. So, like
Absolutely.
Bhagavan says, to understand divine, you have to be divine. You have to vibrate in that frequency. So, even imagine Ram, to even understand Ram, wow, I don't know what we have to be. So, when I hear these, this really opens up a new understanding of why Ram had to go to forest. So,
It
it is
was
a
a
pure act of sacrifice from Ram's perspective.
Absolutely. In fact, there is that mention of a devotee, of a senior devotee to whom Swami reveals the story that he had brought a special fruit which had bloomed. The tree had bloomed only once and gave that fruit, and he brought it to Swami, and that tree died away. And Swami tells him that it has actually done that so that that fruit can be offered to Swami. Even the trees. Similar story. I remember one of our senior professors were telling me. Seems Swami had told them in one of the interviews. It seems the plants that were planted in the hermitage of Panchavati by Sita and which Rama used to water. They were also praying for that opportunity on a daily basis that Rama, please feed us. And Rama feeds them with that water on a day in and day out basis. And Swami goes on to explain that Lord Rama, you think Lord Rama has only come for Ravana? No, Ravana was just incidental to that purpose. But we do not know. Like some one of the brother asked, how many people did hug Swami without his permission? How many we know? How many animals would have been blessed by Ramachandra? We do not know. How many of their families would have been blessed by Ramachandra? We do not know. How many trees, how many creepers, how many birds, how many bees, how many demons, how many sages were blessed by Ramachandra? We will not have an answer to it. That's why Swami says that even the sky is not enough to write my glory. These are some of the. I remember.
You mentioned about the sage. I know when after Bhagwan left in 2011, our brothers had gone to Rishikesh, and
Yes.
there they went to an ashram, and they heard about this saint, great saint, and they just went to meet him, see him. And as soon as they climbed up his stairs to his quarter where he was sitting, he cleared the path for them, and he said, "Hey, Baba's students have come," and he made the space free for them and called them. And they were shocked to see that he was wearing Bhagwan's robe, the same robe which Swami had worn for convocation. It is a very magenta color robe, and it was exclusive robe. Only on one convocation Bhagwan has worn it. And they saw him in that robe, and he said, "See, I am wearing that robe because you were coming." So forget about God's omnipresence. Here you have a devotee who is on that level, and he says, "I wore this robe because you were coming, so you will be happy to see Baba's robe." So then they were shocked and they asked him, "How did you get it?" He said, "Baba gave it to me." So they're all wondering, like, when did you come to Baba and when did he give you? Because the convocation happened only a few years. So the beauty is that we don't even know, because we see Baba coming out for darshan, but that darshan is very limited in our eyes. How many darshans he must be giving at that time, we don't have any clue. And that person says, I have been to Swami's room and he has spoken to me. Now, when did you come? When did he see you? And then he said, "Oh, Baba comes here also," and he gives instruction to all of our ashrams. We are running the ashrams as per Bhagwan's instructions. So imagine, we can't even comprehend what our avatar is, what our Bhagwan is, how he
Absolutely.
blesses. Our views are very limited. Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Raju. It was a pleasant. I think we should close here, and then
Yes.
we'll continue the story with Panchavati. And Panchavati is another story of how it goes, and then we'll see what happens in Panchavati and how the story changes afterwards. So thank you very much. I grateful to all the viewers for joining us and giving their very valuable inputs, and pray to Bhagwan to continue to shower his grace so that we can keep thinking and remembering him. Raju, any final words before we close?
Nothing much, brother. I would only say that it is not without a reason that it is said Ramayana is the story of compassion. You're just
Certainly.
seeing glimpses of it.
Sai Ram.